old main used to be down this way. There's a pond that did some ice skating on and used to walk around quite a bit when Linda and I were recording.
The first time back on campus since I graduated, which would have been January of 1960. And I see a few buildings that are the same, like the one that Rick had pointed out over here was the science building and the library, but the dorm that I especially cared about was torn down, such is life. And then back over there is the gym, and you had to pass swimming in the days when I was in school. You had to dive over a rope to swim your lengths. You know my swimming well enough to know how that went, but I passed it. Obviously, I'm out of school, so that's about the main thing. When I take a look at the library, I think about how I wanted to be a library science major, but I didn't do that because such strange people majored in library science. I wanted to be normal. But it feels really strange to be on campus here. The lake stand is sitting around this area. I think of how many times I was down here with good friends. Lou and Dot and many of my good buddies right through this area. Those were good years. Because I can remember when I came out, there was a tree. We were standing under a tree and the whole dorm and I all thought that you were going to give me my diamond. And instead that's when you came and you said, I feel as though God is speaking to me to consider a single life so that I can serve him more effectively. And so I'm breaking up with you. So I took this piece of bark in with me and said, this is what I got instead of a diamond.
They found that my bark was worse than my bite?
Oh dear. It sounds like it hasn't changed. I had to laugh at the way you identify it. Trying to decide which building it is. That looks like an old building. That was when you were here. And this one is in place of Old Main. Old Main was one of the ones with the beautiful peaks and so on. It was 4 stories. And my freshman year, we had the center room, tower room, right in the very center. I was with Doc Tyson, and then I can't remember the name of my other roommate from York, that red-haired girl, who they put in at the last minute. Streams. That's interesting. Myers Hall, Rick just pointed out across the way there.
What's the name? It's Myers?
Myers. Dr. Maxwell Myers was head of the history department, and he really took a liking to me. There weren't many women that majored in social studies and history and so on. So he kind of took me under his wing and pushed me ahead and so on, and then I wrote back and forth with the Myers until he died, and up to the years with Mrs. Myers. But he was very good to me. He kind of made me a pet. College, and on weekends it was just absolutely dead here, but I would stay because Rick would be at home, so that would be the reason for staying here. Back behind me you can see a sign across the street for the Sugar Bowl. I don't know how many meals I ate there. I lived on subs and going over to the Sugar Bowl for meals when I couldn't stand the dorm anymore. This building right here is Lyle Hall. When I was a sophomore, maybe, my roommate Dot and I were chosen to be some of the few sophomores that came over here, and it was a real special privilege. But it turned out to be a mistake. Although we got to know some of the upperclassmen, it really separated us from a lot of our freshman friends, and they said, boy, that's not fair, how come they got to go over there, and all that kind of stuff. But we ate in here, and this area, and then Look over there and I can see where we used to have to go to assembly. And on my transcript it still says deficient in assembly attendance. There I have these nice grades and this deficiency listed for the rest of my life. It follows me.
By the way, this is November 3rd, and it's going to be somewhere close to 80 degrees today, and this is unheard of in Pennsylvania. It's a house that my grandpa Dummel built. He used to live in another part of Millersville. Just as you turn the bend, he lived way in the back. And then he moved out here to build this house. Just made a cinder block, a very simple house. And when he built it, it was the only house in this entire area. And I remember it quite well because from that front step, as he got that built, I jumped off, and I was helping him build it. I jumped off that front step and ended up spraining my ankle, and I couldn't march in the band the next day. This is Crady Avenue in Millersville, and Linda's going to see Dr. Meyer's widow in this house. This is College Avenue. Franklin Marshall's on my left, and the Theological Seminary is on the right. And right down the street, we'll go down there eventually, is where Linda lived, way down there. And then I lived over here to the right, that street where it says 25 miles an hour. Okay, this is at the Lancaster Theological Seminary, and right behind me is an old building where we used to play as kids, and also we do a lot of sledding. The hills were a lot steeper than they are right now. And the picture that I had just taken earlier was the old, what do they call that? I don't know if they call it Old Main or what. But it was Franklin Marshall College. So the seminary is on this side of College Avenue, and Franklin Marshall's on that side, and then down the street on the left-hand side is Buchanan Park. And on the right-hand side is where Linda lived. It's the Green Room Theater, and as kids we used to do a lot of roller skating, and one of the places we loved to go roller skate would be going down, I don't know what in the world they call these things, but you could make a lot of noise. And it was just fun going down through here, down to the bottom, and then you'd skate back up. And we have these things on both sides of the green room. Let's skate right back up and down to the next one. Behind me was sort of a cafeteria and also a game room as you would go up the steps, and they had a lot of ping pong in there, and that's where I first started playing ping pong. And I thought, boy, this is so different than when I went to high school. Because in high school, you had to go from class to class to class. But coming up here to F&M, I'd go to maybe 1 or 2 classes in the morning and maybe 1 in the afternoon. And boy, I had all this free time, didn't know how to use it. Here are the towers that the guys always enjoyed going up and touching, and starting at those towers on back where they're playing basketball. This is all Buchanan Park, where we would come up during the day, every day during the summer. where they're playing basketball is actually in the tennis courts. This is also part of my running path. So I would run towards the camera here and then keep on running on this path down to the old house down on Frederick Street, which is down that direction. This is the way I would run, or should say the direction I would run. On the right hand side here is the geology building that I was in when I took geology. We're not going much further down the road, but right down there then is part of the seminary, and then a little bit to your left is Frederick Street. Well, this is Frederick Street right across the street there. We're not quite sure what's going on, but this is the gymnasium at F&M.
Shrub. Yeah. No, everything was fine.
Dinner? Yeah.
Actually, I don't agree with that. Bye-bye, nice meeting you.
What Sheila really actually was wanting to show how she's
Well, these tennis courts behind me is where it all began. It wasn't a little 500-watt radio station in Fresno, California. It was tennis courts in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. As I was out here playing tennis with sort of a girlfriend by the name of Timia Vassity, I was waiting for her to show up, and she showed up with this other cute little chick by the name of Linda Anderson. And so we started playing tennis against one another, and eventually, the more we played, the more I started liking this Linda Anderson better than Timia Vassity. And one thing led to another, and you know the rest of the story.
Carlino, parents of Nicholas. Leo and Kay Carlin, parents of Lawrence. Joe and Paula Carroll, parents of...
We lucked out. They're going to have an F&M game. Franklin Marshall's playing Johns Hopkins University today. And that's what's going on down here now.
This was where I first saw Rick. I came over with a fellow who lived behind me, Dick Keller, and he brought me in. We looked at the swimming pool and watched these guys swimming back and forth, and he introduced me to a lot of people, and he pointed this one guy out and said, "Stay away from him, he's got so many girls." And that was Rick Yan. A lot of times I would come walking down the street in this area and just happen to be there when I knew Rick would be on the bus coming home. And I can remember watching the bus turn at this corner, the College Avenue bus, and Rick would be sitting on the side with this tan, healthy-looking, muscular arm sticking out the window. Boy, it was impressive.
Well, this is what it would be like coming up to a Franklin Marshall football game. Only at that time there was like a wooden fence around, and you didn't get as good a view of what's going on as you do now. Here's Franklin Marshall. Many times I would go in that locker room with Uncle Woody and listen to him, especially during halftime.
Please hold your... The coaching staff and team members congratulate the class of 1991.
Let me tell you that. Lived right along this street, in spot where our house is. The porch, I guess, must have come down. But it was so neat to come here and live right across from a boys' college. Nothing sounded any better than that. And right next door to that house is where Sonny Harold lived, who was a young man, in his late 30s, who was retarded, and who fell in love with my sister Jill, who was 7. Thought our Cocker Spaniel was a fox, and thought he was the Lone Ranger. So we had many interesting situations where he would come and stand at the door when Dad would arrive, go out to the car, salute Dad, and shut the door.
Mike takes the opening kickoff. Franklin Marshall will start at the 37-yard line.
I'm just thinking how my whole life is compressed in this entire area. You know, with you living across the street, me living around the corner, coming up here all my life, playing out here in the football field and running the track, and then going to college here, and then Uncle Woody being the coach here. Just a lot of fun times. And right behind me is where, during the World War II, they had what they called a commando corps. And as kids, we would run around here, and there was a little swimming pool with ropes hanging down. And I can recall one time we had to jump out, grab hold of the rope, and go across the pool. And one time I did it, my shoe fell in the water. And after that happened, excuse me, after my shoe fell in the water, some guy chased us. So I had to run home without one of my shoes. Tell Mom that my shoe's at the bottom of the swimming pool up there at F&M Commando Corps.
Lancaster, and as I said, right across from the F&M football field. What could be greater than that for a high school girl? There used to be a porch here, and on the 3rd floor is where we used to play ping pong, or we learned how to bounce the ball so that we could romance or whatever needed to be. And then Rick would call, or I would call, and I'd take Tappy Toes out for a walk. And we'd always say, remember the Alamo. That meant that we were supposed to meet at the corner, and we thought we were really big-time stuff doing it.
Who's Tappy Toes?
Tappy Toes was our Cocker Spaniel. And he really belonged to Jill especially, I think. And then coming around the corner is Sonny Harold, who lived next to us at that time too, and that's the one I told you about, who was in love with Jill and thought that our Tappy Toes was a fox.
Why, I never know.
You probably don't remember me. I'm Rick Yon. I used to live around the corner.
Oh, Ricky! Hello, Ricky boy! Oh, God!
And this is Linda, and you remember her sister Jill, who used to live right next door to you here.
Yeah! What?
We used to have a dog.
Could I ask you, how is Jill Pedersen?
Jill is doing very well. Anderson, right, Anderson.
Where is she?
She lives in Connecticut.
4 girls.
Oh,
Yeah, she's.
my favorite Jill.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I didn't see her for a long, long time. Oh my goodness.
Eternity, which is right up the street from my house, Phi Kappa Tau.
All right.
We're down here to those awnings, right above that sign. That's where we live. Way. There is the fraternity we just came from, and we're at the seminary, theological seminary right now. Going up to these, I don't know what in the world they call those things up there. But on the right, this was all open area. There are no buildings at all in here. And we play football in here. And run through that portico area. Like roller skate through there and run through there and make a lot of noise. Right after the war, in fact before the war was over, I was sitting right up at that spot when a seminary student came through that portico and told me that President Roosevelt had just died. Well, here we are at J.P. McCaskey High School. Linda and I met here, and we didn't meet here, but we went here for 1 year in 1954, I guess it was, because I went here from 53 to 55, graduated in 55, and I broke all kinds of records. Not academic records, but records for not passing chemistry because I was looking out the window, looking at this cute little girl running up and down, playing field hockey. Sort of took my mind off of the academics. But, as you see, many years later, chemistry would have done me absolutely no good. That cute little girl has done me a lot of good. We have 2 model cars here. One is just 1 horsepower, the other is many, many horsepower. Now this is a car from Texas. This is transportation from Lancaster County. That one costs a lot of money because of all the gas. This one is run by fuel that that horse eats. That horse gives gas. in Strasbourg, and these are just some of the old train engines they have out here at a museum. That engine right there, I can recall when I would go between Lancaster and Philadelphia all the time. That's the kind of engine that ran the PRR passenger trains at that time. And this steam engine was a type that would be down the street from our house, run on the main line there near Armstrong, and that's the kind that would just be puffing up a lot of smoke. And when Mom and the neighbor ladies would hang their washout on a Monday, if the wind was blowing in the wrong direction, all that soot would come and they'd run out and take their wash down. It looks like it must have been a snowplow of some kind that they would use.